Picture this. You're standing alone on a desolate island. The sun burns low on the horizon. Salt air cuts through your lungs. In your hand, the weight of steel that will either crown you or kill you. But your opponent? Nowhere to be seen. Hours pass. Your blood turns to fire. Your honor bleeds into the sand. And then, a shadow appears on the water. The year is 1612. Ganryu Island, Japan. Sasaki Kojiro, master swordsman, pride of the orthodox schools, grips his katana like a prayer made of rage. He's been waiting to prove he's the greatest blade in all of Japan, waiting for the one man who could either validate his legacy or erase it forever. That man is late, very late. When the boat finally cuts through the mist, it moves like a ghost ship, slow, deliberate, almost mocking in its calm. And when Miyamoto Musashi steps onto the shore, something is wrong. The weapon in his hands isn't steel. It's wood, a bakudo, a practice sword. The setting sun blazes behind him, turning him into a silhouette, a shadow with a voice that cuts deeper than any blade. You have already lost. What happens next takes 3 seconds. Kojiro's lifetime of technique, fury, and ego, all compressed into one perfect, deadly strike. But Musashi disappears, like smoke, like water, like something that was never really there. Kojiro's body crumples into the tide. Bubbles rise from his lips, carrying away his dreams, his rage, his very soul. But here's the thing that will haunt you. Musashi knew this would happen before he even stepped into that boat. How does a 7-year-old boy become death itself? Born in 1584, Musashi entered the world under the shadow of Shinmin Munisai, a martial artist so brutal, so feared, that his very name was whispered like a curse. But young Musashi? He was different, defiant, unbreakable. At 7 years old, his father disowned him. Think about that for a moment. 7 years old, cast out by the one person who should have protected him. But sometimes, the greatest gifts come wrapped in our deepest wounds. His uncle, a Buddhist monk, became his sanctuary. In the quiet halls of Shion Temple, something extraordinary began to form, a paradox that would define everything. The soul of a warrior, inhabited by the mind of a sage. For the next 50 years, Musashi would fight 60 duels. 60, most to the death. His first victory came at 13, barely more than a child, already stained with another man's blood. But here's what makes your skin crawl. He never lost. Not once. How is that even possible? How does someone dance with death for half a century and never stumble? The answer lies not in his sword, but in his surrender. Before his death, Musashi left us 2 texts, 2 maps to navigate the labyrinth of existence. The Book of 5 Rings and the Way of Walking Alone. 21 precepts, 21 keys to unlock something most of us never even realize we've lost. But what did he discover in all those years of dancing on the edge of oblivion? Precept 1. Accept everything just the way it is. Sounds passive, doesn't it? Weak, even. But here's the terrible truth. Reality doesn't care about your preferences. Reality doesn't negotiate. It simply is. And every second you spend fighting what cannot be changed is a second you're not adapting to what can be. Musashi understood something that most of us never will. That true power isn't found in forcing the world to bend to our will. True power is found in bending with the world while never losing sight of our destination. Think about Kojiro on that beach. For hours, he burned with frustration at Musashi's lateness. Hours of rage, of wasted energy, of focus scattered like sand in the wind. By the time Musashi arrived, Kojiro had already defeated himself. This wasn't an accident. This was strategy. Precept 11. In all things, have no preferences. Wait, no preferences? How do we even live without preferences? The answer is both simpler and more terrifying than you might think. It's not about becoming empty. It's about becoming fluid. Every rigid preference you hold is a chain around your neck. Every "this is how things should be" is a target painted on your back. The world will use your preferences against you, pulling you in directions that serve its chaos, not your purpose. But when you learn to move like water, taking the shape of whatever container holds you while never forgetting you are still water, you become unstoppable. Precept 2. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. We live in a world that worships instant gratification, the sugar rush, the dopamine hit, the quick fix that promises happiness but delivers only emptiness. Musashi saw through this illusion. He understood that there are two kinds of pleasure: the pleasure that consumes you and the pleasure that completes you. One is fire that burns everything it touches. The other is light that illuminates the path forward. Which one are you chasing? Precept 3. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. This might be the most dangerous precept of all, because it forces us to confront something we'd rather ignore. Most of our decisions aren't really decisions at all. They're reactions. Fear masquerading as caution. Ego disguised as confidence. Desire wearing the mask of necessity. Musashi demanded total clarity before action. Not 70%, not 90%. Total. Because in life, as in combat, a partial understanding can be the difference between victory and death. But here's the question that will keep you awake tonight. In your most important decisions, your relationships, your career, your deepest commitments, how often are you operating from partial feelings? How often are you swinging blind? Never stray from the way. These were among Musashi's final words. Not a suggestion, a commandment carved in stone and written in blood. But what is the way? The way is focus. Not the shallow focus of concentration, but the deep focus of total alignment. Mind, body, spirit, all pointing toward the same magnetic north. The way is the recognition that every moment is a duel. Not against other people, but against the forces that would scatter your attention, corrupt your purpose, dilute your essence. Every day, you face Kojiro's choice on that beach. You can stand there, rigid in your expectations, burning with frustration when reality doesn't conform to your script. Or you can become Musashi. In his final wisdom, Musashi wrote, "When you are fighting a battle to the death, you must employ all the weapons at your disposal. It is deplorable to die with a weapon yet undrawn." Think about that. Right now, in this moment, what weapons do you possess that you've never used? What parts of yourself remain sheathed, hidden, waiting for some perfect moment that may never come? Your creativity, your compassion, your courage, your capacity for growth, your ability to see beyond the surface of things. These are your weapons. And every day you don't draw them, every day you don't commit fully to becoming who you're capable of becoming, is a day you're losing the most important duel of all, the duel with your own potential. The island where Kojiro died still exists. On clear days, some say you can still see shadows moving across the water at sunset. Two figures locked in eternal combat, one learning to accept, the other learning to let go. But the real battlefield isn't on some distant shore. It's in your mind. It's in your choices. It's in every moment you decide whether to be ruled by your reactions or to rule them instead. Musashi's ghost doesn't haunt that island. It haunts everyone who's ever wondered what they're truly capable of. The question isn't whether you'll face your Kojiro moment, that moment when everything you think you are gets tested by everything you could become. The question is, when that moment arrives, will you be ready? Will you have accepted what is? Will you have learned to flow like water while cutting like steel? Will you have drawn every weapon at your disposal? Or will you collapse into the tide, bubbles carrying away all the things you never became? The choice, like always, is yours. But choose quickly. The sun is setting, and your opponent is already on the water. The way is found in death. When faced with a choice between life and death, choose death without hesitation. Miyamoto Musashi.